They laughed, they rolled their eyes, they whispered behind your back. Some of them didn't even try to hide it. When you stumbled, when you didn't meet the mark, when you fell flat on your face, they laughed, and that laugh, it hurt. But let me tell you something, it also lit a fire inside you that they never saw coming. Failure is not the end. It's not a reason to stop. It's the starting line. It's proof that you were brave enough to try something most people only talk about. Because guess what? Most of the people who laughed haven't even dared to take the kind of risk you did. They're spectators, not players. And it's easy to sit in the stands and throw shade at the person on the field who's sweating, bleeding, and giving it everything they've got. You showed up. That already makes you different. And now you get to decide, do you shrink because someone laughed? Or do you rise because you know that one setback isn't your story, it's your setup? The most successful people you admire, they failed repeatedly, publicly, painfully. But they didn't let the laughter stop them. They let it fuel them. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Oprah was told she was unfit for TV. J.K. Rowling got rejected 12 times before someone said yes. If they had listened to the laughter, we wouldn't even know their names. But they didn't. And neither will you. Because here's the truth, success is born in the comeback. It's in the moment you decide that their opinion isn't more powerful than your purpose. That laugh they threw at you. That becomes the soundtrack to your transformation. That's the moment they'll replay in their heads when you rise, when you succeed, when you turn everything around, because it will haunt them to know they laughed when they should have believed in you. So now it's on you. Use the laugh, use the doubt, use the failure, build with it. Every no becomes a brick in your comeback story. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every giggle behind your back becomes fuel in your engine. You don't need to convince them. You need to keep moving. Because the most powerful revenge is not anger, it's success. And the sweetest sound isn't applause, it's silence. The silence of those who once laughed, now left speechless. You're not done. You're just getting started. Let them laugh. Let them doubt. But you rise, you rebuild, you refocus. And when you come back, and you will, it's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were never broken to begin with. You were becoming. Failure isn't final, it's fuel. And I need you to hear that, not just nod and move on, let it really sink in. Because too many people treat failure like it's the end of the story. Like once something flops, it defines them. That's nonsense. You're not your mistakes. You're what you do next. You know what failure actually is? Feedback, information, proof that you took action, that you stepped out, raised your hand, gave it a shot. That's more than most people ever do. They'll sit on the sidelines laughing, pointing, critiquing, but they'll never get in the ring. You did, you tried. And yeah, it didn't go the way you hoped. So what? You learn, you grow, you get better. The reason failure feels so heavy is because we were raised to believe it's something to be ashamed of. School taught you to get the right answer. Social media teaches you to present a perfect image. So of course, when you fall flat on your face, it stings. But here's the thing, they don't give out awards for perfection. They give them to people who keep going, people who get knocked down, stand up and go again. The most successful people in the world are the ones who have failed the most. Why? Because they take the most shots, they show up more often, they're not afraid to look stupid. They've built up a kind of mental callus to it. Look at any comeback story that's ever inspired you, any movie, any athlete, any entrepreneur, any human being who turned their life around. Do you know what all those stories have in common? They failed first, they hit bottom, they were told, you can't. They were laughed at, dismissed, doubted. And instead of letting that crush them, they let it ignite something in them. Failure lights a fire when you use it the right way. It forces you to ask better questions. What didn't work? What can I do differently next time? How do I get stronger? It shakes off the ego and brings you face to face with the truth. That's where real growth begins, not in your comfort zone, not in easy wins, but in the hard moments, the lonely nights, the ugly cry, the doubts, the picking yourself up off the floor. That's the stuff that shapes you. I've failed so many times I can't even count. Failed in business, failed in relationships, failed at my health goals, and every single time I wanted to hide. I wanted to pretend it didn't happen. But when I finally said, okay, what is this here to teach me? That's when things started to change. So the next time someone laughs at your failure, let them. Let them show you who they are. Small thinkers, safe players, fragile egos. And then use that moment like rocket fuel. Use it to get laser focused. Use it to rebuild, to refine, to recommit, because failure isn't the end. It's the beginning of something way bigger. If you let it be, you don't need their approval. Read that again. You don't need their approval. Because let me tell you something that will completely shift your mindset. The people who mock you, who doubt you, who laugh when you stumble, they are not your people. Their opinions, they do not define your potential. Their laughter, it doesn't determine your future. And their approval, you don't need it to be great. We spend so much of our lives chasing validation from others. We're wired that way. Social approval, fitting in, belonging. But somewhere along the line, we started believing that other people's opinions are the measuring stick for our success. We make decisions based on what they might think. We hold ourselves back because we're afraid of being judged. We silence our ideas, our dreams, our potential, because someone might not get it. Let me say this loud and clear. The people who are doing less than you will always have the loudest opinions. You've got to stop handing the pen of your life story to people who aren't even brave enough to write their own. You've got to stop asking for directions from those who've never been where you're going. Because here's the truth, most people are terrified of their own potential. Your courage makes them uncomfortable. Your willingness to try, even if you fail, triggers their fear. And instead of dealing with their own stuff, they project it onto you. They laugh, they criticize, they dismiss. But that says everything about them and nothing about you. When you start tuning out the noise and tuning into yourself, something powerful happens. You start listening to your own voice, your own truth, your own fire. And guess what? That's where the magic is. You start making choices that align with your vision, not their expectations. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces you've outgrown. You stop explaining yourself to people who aren't even trying to understand. Think about the people you admire, the ones who've built lives of impact, courage, and authenticity. Do you really think they got there by following the crowd, by asking for permission? No. They got there because they chose to trust themselves more than they feared judgment. They chose to disappoint others rather than abandon their purpose. That's what you need to do. You have a vision, a dream, a calling, and it's not going to make sense to everybody. That's okay. It's not supposed to. It's your dream. It was given to you. You weren't born to be liked by everyone. You were born to be you, fully, boldly, unapologetically. So the next time someone raises an eyebrow at your ambition or mocks your failure or questions your choices, remember this, their opinion is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their limitations. Let them underestimate you. Let them roll their eyes. Because while they're sitting on the sidelines judging, you're in the arena building. And when the results start showing, when the growth becomes undeniable, they'll go quiet. Not because you proved them wrong, but because you finally realized you never needed to prove anything to them in the first place. Let's talk about failure, because most people have it all wrong. Failure isn't the end. It's not a label. It's not a sentence. It's not something that defines you. It's feedback. It's data. It's the most powerful teacher you will ever have. And if you're brave enough to face it, to stand back up, to learn from it, it becomes your superpower. Here's what most people do. They fail once and they retreat. They feel embarrassed, ashamed. They hear the whispers, the laughter, maybe even outright criticism. And they start to believe the lie that failure means they aren't good enough. They take it personally. They think it means they're not smart enough, not talented enough, not meant for success. But let me ask you something. Who told you that failure was supposed to be avoided? Who convinced you that stumbling meant you're broken? Because here's the truth. Every single person you admire has failed more times than you've even tried. Steve Jobs was fired from Apple. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for TV. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. You think those people succeeded because everything went perfectly? No. They succeeded because they got back up. They looked failure in the face and said, "Is that all you've got?" You need to reframe failure in your mind. Stop thinking of it as a stop sign and start thinking of it as a redirection. Because when something doesn't work out, that's not a reflection of your potential. It's an invitation to grow. It's a signpost pointing you toward what you need to adjust, what you need to strengthen, what you need to understand on a deeper level. If you're failing, it means you're in motion. It means you're trying, and trying is where all the learning lies. And let me say this, when people laugh at your failure, that's about them, not you. That laughter, it's fear. It's projection. It's their discomfort with effort, with vulnerability, with risk, because you're doing what they're too afraid to do, and that threatens them. Let them laugh. Let them judge. You keep going, you keep rising. You keep failing forward because every single time you fail, you gain something. You gain resilience, you gain wisdom, you gain clarity, and more importantly, you gain proof that you can survive setbacks, proof that you can keep going, proof that you are not defined by one moment, one misstep, or one opinion. You want to be unstoppable. Then you need to develop a relationship with failure that empowers you instead of shames you. Learn from it, use it, grow because of it. Because the people who win at life are not the ones who never fail. They're the ones who never stay down. They're the ones who use failure as fuel. So stop running from the fall. Embrace it. It's part of the journey. In fact, it is the journey. And once you realize that, you'll never be afraid of failing again. You'll only be afraid of not trying. Let's talk about something people don't like to admit: being underestimated, being counted out, being overlooked. When they laughed at you, when they doubted you, when they whispered behind your back and said, they'll never make it, they thought they were closing the book on your story. What they didn't realize is that they were lighting a fire. They were writing the introduction to your comeback. Here's the thing: being underestimated is a gift. I mean, it's the kind of fuel you can't buy. When someone tells you that you're not capable, that you're not enough, that you'll never succeed, it hurts, yes, but it also sharpens you. It puts you in a place where you have everything to prove and nothing to lose. And let me tell you something, there is nothing more powerful than a person who's underestimated and decides to rise anyway. People might say you're too old, too young, too quiet, too loud, too different. That's fine. Let them talk. Let them judge, because while they're busy doubting you, you're busy doing the work. And that's what separates the people who rise from the ones who stay stuck in their judgments and their fears. Action, persistence, consistency. Every day you keep showing up, you chip away at the lie they told you. Do you know what happens when you refuse to believe them? When you stop internalizing their limitations, you start to expand, you start to take ownership of your goals, you begin trusting yourself, your process, your journey. And when you do that consistently, something incredible happens. The world starts to pay attention. The people who once laughed, they go silent, they start watching, then they start asking questions. And eventually, they can't deny what you've built. But don't wait for that applause. Don't work for the validation. That's not where your power comes from. Your power comes from choosing yourself when nobody else does. It comes from believing in your vision even when it feels blurry. It comes from acting on your potential even when nobody sees it yet. Especially then, being underestimated allows you to build in silence. You get to grow without the pressure of other people's expectations. You get to fail quietly, learn quickly, and rebound fiercely. There's freedom in being dismissed, because when no one is watching, you're free to reinvent yourself without limits. You know what the most satisfying part is? It's not proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right. It's reaching that moment where you realize, I didn't need their permission. I just needed to trust myself enough to begin. You don't need the world to believe in you before you take your first step. So the next time someone underestimates you, thank them. Seriously. Because they just handed you the best fuel you'll ever get. They reminded you that your success was never supposed to be handed to you. It was meant to be earned. And trust me, when you rise from being underestimated, there is nothing sweeter, because you didn't just rise, you became unstoppable. When they laugh, when they mock, when they point fingers and say you'll never make it, there's a moment, an incredibly powerful moment, where you get to decide what comes next. You can shrink, you can retreat, or you can rise. And the people who rise, they use those moments not as reasons to stop, but as launchpads to greatness. Let me tell you something I've learned the hard way. Growth doesn't happen when it's easy. It doesn't happen when everyone's clapping for you or when everything goes your way. No, growth happens in the grit. It happens when you're knocked flat on your face and you decide to get up anyway. It happens when you're laughed at, dismissed, ignored, and you still show up. That moment of humiliation, that's your invitation to evolve. Think about the people who've truly made an impact in this world. Their stories aren't defined by comfort. They're defined by resistance, rejection, failure. They got told no more times than they could count. They got laughed out of rooms, dropped from teams, passed over for jobs. And you know what they did? They didn't let it stop them. They used it. They got better. They worked harder. They trained longer. They sharpened their edge. Because every single obstacle became a tool for growth. You're not here to stay comfortable. You're not here to live small so you can avoid the sting of being doubted. You're here to grow. And if you're going to grow, then expect discomfort, expect resistance. In fact, welcome it. Because when you lean into it, when you stop running from it and start learning from it, you become something extraordinary. That moment they laughed at your idea. It taught you how to refine your pitch. That job you didn't get, it showed you where your skills needed sharpening. That time you failed publicly, it built resilience in you that success never could. Every time you think, this is it, I can't do this, you're standing right on the edge of something transformational. The fat edge, that's where growth happens. But here's the deal. Growth is your responsibility. It's not the world's job to make it easy for you. It's not your critic's job to cheer you on. And it's definitely not your past job to predict your future. You have to be the one to lean in. You have to be the one who says, okay, that hurt, but what can I learn from it? You have to be the one who makes the pain mean something. Because here's the truth, most people won't tell you. Life will test you. It will knock you down. And yes, sometimes it will humiliate you, but it's not trying to destroy you. It's trying to refine you. And when you choose growth in those moments, when you pick yourself up and keep going, you become the kind of person who can't be broken. So the next time you're underestimated, don't waste your energy proving them wrong. Focus on growing so much, evolving so deeply that their opinion becomes irrelevant. Let their laughter echo in the background while you build something undeniable. Because you weren't made to stay the same. You were made to grow, to rise, and to shock the